Dr. Mark Changizi here to Science Moment. If it's emergent phenomenon, collective hysteria, Mark, that explains, what happened with the COVID debacle, then how do you explain all of these people working together, and those groups were conspiring together, and those were collaborating together? I can find people working together all over the place. So how can you say there's people not all working together? Now, of course, so let me go back to the claim that I'm making and the confusion that people are having. What happened in COVID in 2020, March of 2020, is collective hysteria. These are the kinds of events, when they happen, new righteous cult is formed, new kinds of notions of the good, and everybody's beating as one, and new notions of out-groups that are unclean occur, and you can justify doing almost anything to them, and as these things get worse and worse. Train passing by. Now, when that happens, it's extremely dangerous. Genocides, the greatest evils that happen are due to these kinds of emergent phenomena, these kinds of collective hysteria. And you need no master planner to be able to explain these things. So there need not be any master planner. Now, a lot of folks will say, oh, you're saying there's no one culpable, and I've covered that 100 times in, I guess, 20 different kinds of videos. Of course there's all these individuals culpable. And some people say, oh, you're saying there's not all these people working towards authoritarianism. No, there's tons of authoritarianism that they've been pushing, and tons of people working together. So let's get back to an earlier Science Moment video that I did. I was talking about the way, in fact, the only way that you can get this level of coordination and synchronicity at large scales like this, the only way it happens is via emergent phenomena. It happens at the level of the whole, not via a master planner. But when I showed you this, I showed you, let's say, examples of a bunch of pendulums all connected on a piece of wood, and they're out of phase to begin with, but by the end, they're all moving together in phase. Those pendula are communicating with one another, To begin with, they weren't in phase, but they become synchronized because they're talking to each other. They're conspiring. They're talking to each other through the piece of wood. It's through those communications and all of that coordination that they're individually doing with each other that leads to the synchronization at the large scale level. Same thing with the fireflies, right? You see a whole bunch of fireflies. There's no master planner there either. But there's tons of coordination. There's tons of collusion and people working together. Because me, a firefly, sees that person over there. I've got, let's say, 6 in my field of view. I see what they're doing. I'm trying to, let's say, get more in line with them. Others are getting more in line with others, and some kind of pattern happens. Same with starlings. They're not all trying to become synchronized as one, but they end up with emergent behavior by virtue of all of them reacting to many of those that they're able to see or feel, the pressure waves coming from them or hear, right? There's tons of coordination between the individuals or the groups within these large networks of humans. Tons of coordination. It's tons of activity and collusion and interacting to push the authoritarianism that they are culpable for. All right? So you can't say, oh, Mark, you're saying that it's emergent phenomena, so therefore there's no coordination. No, there's coordination everywhere throughout the network and no master planner. The same thing occurs for economies. Economies have no master planner. They don't work when you try to master plan them, but they're filled with coordination all over the place, right? Billions of coordinations are occurring all over the place, decentralized, distributed, and that's how things like the phone that you're looking at right now can be there when you show up to the store, and bread can be there, and all of the items that occur in these economies get everywhere they're going without a master planner. Right? So don't confuse the two. If I claim there's no master planner, it doesn't mean there's not planning. There's tons of planning between all the pairwise individuals and groups. Right? All of them. They're occurring everywhere. The culpability, the evil that is done is by many of those individuals, especially those that had larger forces. In some sense, they were able to bring to bear in terms of their pressure for certain kinds of interventions. And those who did it longer and those who were elected politicians, of course, have greater culpability. So I hope that helps clear things up. If you're interested in these kinds of large-scale emergent phenomena, which is what you must understand, if you're going to understand free expression itself, depends on this. Free expression itself is a kind of generalization of economies to begin with. Free expression, science itself, free markets, are all the same kinds of stuff. And our richness in life, all the things that we have in our societies are brought to you by that. All of the richness in life is due to all of these decentralized, distributed networks that create emergent stuff through no master planner. Find out more about how freedom itself and free expression depends upon these kinds of areas of science at the Free Expression Institute, freex.group.